Maya and many, many other people, of course, devised the system of painting on ceramics. But rather than make flat ceramics, they chose to make their paintings on cylinders, such as this. Now, the problem with studying a cylinder for any archaeologist or art historian is that you can only see a small portion of the cylinder at a time. The solution, of course, was to make a peripheral photograph so that this scene was able to be studied in a flat, essentially flat format. And the way that we go about doing that is, first off, the vase has to be measured, because each vase has a different proportion. And so the mechanics of turning a cylinder into a flat object needs that little bit of mathematics. So the vase is going to sit on a turntable, of course, and rotate in front of the camera. The film will be moving at the same time. What then happens is that we have to match the speed of the turntable with the speed of the film, and so that we get the correct proportion. 18 centimeters height by 32 centimeters, and I would enter that here. 32 and 17. And that would give me a figure of 8.47. Having worked with this for a very, very long time, I know that the controller is set at 4.3 or thereabouts, and the height of the actual image on the screen will be 4.5 centimeters. And that fits on a 120 roll of film, which is what the camera said for. So then the vase is placed here. It's lit. Now, because it's a ceramic, it can very often have problems in terms of very, very bad reflections. So at this particular point, my task is to light the vase properly so that it is even and that there are no reflections on it. And once it's lit, it rotates. The camera will be focused, so forth and so on, and then the film will run through it. That is the whole story. For a while, I was putting a light meter up and making calculations and so forth and so on, but then after a while, and in my very first experiences with photography, when I was learning the craft, one of my teachers said that to be a really good photographer, you have to feel the light. And so I learned from people who were using rubber bulbs, opening and closing the shutters, and things like that. I've always said to people who've asked me, learn the basics. Learn the basics. Don't rely on the light meters, which I do now, of course. But how does it feel? Where is the sun hitting you on the face? Don't look at the light. Look at the shadow. The shadow is going to tell you more than the light does. Look into the shadow. All those very, very, very basic photographic concepts. All of that helped me through the years, uh, not necessarily, well, even with the rollouts, because there are vases that are carved, which that requires a totally different lighting system rather than just making it flat. There you want to start bringing up texture and contrast and so forth and so on. So other things come into play. Do I start the beginning of the photograph with this figure or this figure or this figure or this figure? And then that is merely a judgment call. On some vases, it's not very difficult to do because we can see that it is a very, very specific scene with a beginning and an end in terms of there are people talking this way and there are people talking this way, and then they repeat. I believe in this particular type of sequence, there is no beginning and there's no end. It is today, tomorrow, and forever, and they're always going around and they're always dancing. I think yes, I had heard from David Gerolman that National Geographic was going to do a bunch of rollouts for their December 74 issue, or 75 issue, I'd have to look that up. And so I then took all the components and stuck them together, and it worked. That was the most exciting thing. The first roll of film that went through the camera, taking it out of the developer, dripping wet, and saying, well, it's a rollout. The subject was a coffee can. It wasn't a vase. But Gillette Griffin brought to the studio an Olmec sphere with a jaguar paw incised in it, with the idea that if we could make a rollout from a sphere, we could go anywhere